There is this really cool anomaly on the Mun surface that I'm looking forward to showing you. We just need to get our space plane to slow down enough. I'm trying to get a little closer here, and we are not going to slow down in time. Let's try that again. This is Echo 3, and welcome back to our modded career mode discussion. We have a lot of science points, so let's go ahead and spend some of them. We have some excellent new technologies we can research as far as communications and new science experiments, so that'll help further our program. Let's pick up some contracts. Here's one to go to Eve. I think it's about time we visit Eve. It's a challenging planet, but this is just a flyby, so that's not very hard at all. And I noticed down here at the ScanSat, we have a contract to scan Eve. So if we're going there, we might as well complete 2 contracts. Let's build a probe to complete this mission. This is going to be probably kind of similar to the probes I just sent to Duna, with the exception that we have some new relay antenna parts, so I intend to put the better antennas on this. Hopefully it will help us as we send out probes further out into the galaxy. These are the ScanSat parts. If you have noticed, I have not updated this game to the 1.12 update. Part of the reason for that is that I actually recorded this before the update came out, so this is what I've got. And actually, I have not updated my game yet. I'd kind of like to finish this career playthrough right now before I jump into the new update. Although there's a lot of cool things I'm seeing out there. Although there's been a few people saying that they're having problems with the game, and I'm a little concerned. I may wait until the patch is released. Hopefully it'll come soon. Especially, there's a new part, the ground attachment part, that didn't get released yet in this new update, so I may wait until the patch is out before I update my game, and am looking forward to trying out all the new things. Here's the new relay antennas for our probe. If you would like to see me demonstrate anything in the new update, I can run 2 versions of the game on my computer. That's fine. So if you're interested in seeing any new things demonstrated that you'd like to learn that you haven't seen elsewhere, I am very willing to update my game to demonstrate any of those concepts or new tools like the transfer planner, which looks amazing. I use Kerbal alarm clock, but it looks like that has been updated and put into the game, at least some of the basic functionalities. I am very excited, and I really like the direction that the game went, introducing more tools, making it easier for people to actually do things. You know, the rocket science is still all the same, but just make things a little bit more accessible to people. I think that's a great way to go, and I'm happy with the way the developers took the game. Now, I put on a Poodle engine. This is going to help finish our circularization burn here, with the upper stage really doing the bulk of the work as far as getting to Eve, and we'll circularize around Eve for the rest of the mission there. These are some modded engines here. I'm trying out some different things, trying to see what's going to get me the right thrust to weight ratio for this craft, enough fuel. I want to make sure I can get this thing into orbit. So I'm using the Kerbal Engineer Delta V readout. I know the game has its own, but I'm so familiar with the Kerbal Engineer one that I just prefer it. And with the game kind of finishing its update life, I look forward to having all these mods just kind of finalized and not worrying about, you know, how new updates are going to affect my game. I'm going to throw on a few launch clamps here that just help stabilize the craft as we try to take off. Those engines there will not support the weight of the craft overly well, and it'll cause it to tip over. I've built, you know, similar probes that we sent to Duna. Now, we are not at a transfer window for Eve. We're at a transfer window for Duna right now, but not for Eve. Well, kind of. I'm going to get to Eve in a non-standard way. Now, when we get to orbit, I'm going to target Eve, and you'll be able to see a little bit better our situation. So we just need to finish our circularization here, deploy some solar panels, make sure we don't run out of power. Pretty easy burn here. All right, I use the Poodle for this part of the ascent, and we are in orbit. Now I'm dragging my orbit line out, and you can see we're not in the transfer window. I'm not going to get an encounter with Eve or anything. But you can see the ascending and descending nodes. Where we're going to eject Kerbin's sphere of influence here is actually at the node, and I'm going to be right at the in line with the ascending and descending nodes. So I will make another maneuver here at my closest approach to Eve's orbit line, and then I can set up this, and you can see I'm getting an encounter here by messing with my prograde retrograde. So rather than messing with the inclination, I just left at the ascending descending node there. Now, I'm going to spend, actually I already spent this and I forgot to record it, but I picked up a couple more technologies here as far as engines and as far as some Mark II spaceplane parts. And I would like to use those for our next mission. Now, I told you there are some anomalies here on the Mun that I was wanting to highlight. And now these have been in the game for a while, and there are new ones in the 1.12 update. So I'm going to pick several contracts to go to the Mun. Like we have one to take some tourists, and we have the one there to find this anomaly. So I like to combine contracts. To me, if I can get as much funds out of a single launch, it just makes more sense. So let's build a spaceplane. This is not going to be a single stage to orbit spaceplane. I tried developing one, but I don't have the rapiers unlocked. I don't even have the whiplashes unlocked in this game, and it's just tricky to get something that can go to the Mun and land, because I need enough thrust to weight ratio on the Mun. This here is, as far as a spaceplane, it's not going to be huge. I don't need a lot of wing surface here to control this thing. It's really, the wings are just for the descent. We'll put on these canards up at the front, put on some solar panels, and apparently, I didn't notice this as I was installing this. I'm going to end up putting on a solar panel incorrectly. This here is going to hold our science experiments. This will help protect it when we re-enter Kerbin's atmosphere. This will just help keep these parts safe. It will also help the plane be more streamlined. If we can keep as many parts inside of the cargo container, we won't have to worry about the aerodynamics of those parts. Throw on some landing gear here. Plane's not too heavy. These medium gear will be fine. Now you'll notice I am offsetting these wings, and I'm giving them some dihedral angle. This will give us stability, so it's going to give us some yaw stability, but it'll also give us roll stability, because as the plane will roll one way or the other, with the way the wings are angled like that, it will naturally want to come back and fly level. And I forgot, I only put one on. I meant to put two, and I think that's going to end up causing some problems with the craft being slightly off balance. Now we'll take this over to the vehicle assembly building from the spaceplane hangar and assemble the rest of this. I need a rocket to get this into orbit. Now I'll add one stage here, and this will kind of help finish our circularization burn, with most of the travel being actually done with the spaceplane itself. And make sure I've got what I need there. I'm doing lots of auto struts. It's going to be a little flimsy with that small connection there, so I'm going to use auto struts and regular struts to just help hold it together, and we don't end up having any issues with ascent. Just struts, auto struts, easy way to keep your plane or your rocket held together. Now I need a big booster section on this, and I'm going to use the Bobcat, but I'm going to do something a little different with this. I'm actually going to attach 4 Bobcats on this engine and kind of clip them together so that center bell, while it's actually 4, will only look like one. Just aesthetically, it looks better to me, and I like the color of the parts. We'll make this orange, kind of look like those big orange tanks. Now the spaceplane itself, there's a lot of drag with all those wing parts, so I put 8 of the Delta wings here on the bottom, gave them a little bit of control authority with those elevons, and we will not have then any issues with the ascent. Will be stable. We're going to look for some strange things, so I'll call this my Stranger Things aircraft. Just kind of seeing who's on here. But put some launch clamps. That should help keep this thing stable. Otherwise, it might want to tip over. I'm not sure we're perfectly balanced, so launch clamps are a good way to help keep your craft from having issues on the launch pad. Now I go to launch this thing, and I notice our craft is too tall. Now we have plenty of funds, that's not an issue. So we're going to go over here, just upgrade the launch pad and make it a level 3. Now we can hit launch, put our tourist on there, on our pilot, and we'll go to the Mun today. Yes, we will go to space today. Now I'm noticing I'm kind of having a little bit of control authority, and I think possibly that one solar panel just threw things off a little bit and gave me some issues. That's the only thing I can think of, but it wasn't enough to really cause any major issues on the ascent. Things really go according to plan here. Use my maneuver node and we'll get us into orbit. We had plenty of Delta V for the launch section, although we don't have a lot. I didn't budget a lot of extra Delta V for this mission. I mean, I budgeted enough, and I always try to budget some margin for error, but not enough to be careless with it. So we're going to burn out to the Mun, eject that stage, and I'm going to basically kind of aim right at the Mun because I need to do an inclination change here. The anomaly I'm looking for is close to the South Pole. So if I'm in an equatorial orbit, I will never actually pass over the target. So about halfway to the Mun, we will change the inclination and come here over the South Pole, and that will put us where we need to be so we can cross over the target. Now I'm looking here straight up at the South Pole. We'll circularize around the Mun and just wait. The Mun will rotate underneath us, and I will wait till my orbital path basically is going to intersect where I want to land, create a maneuver, and give me a rough estimate for where I think we're going to land. I want to get, pretty close. We have to change our inclination just a little bit. Not very much, a couple degrees is fine. Those aren't expensive even in low orbit, but if you're trying to do a major inclination change, it's best to do that in high orbit or even before you enter orbit, which is what I did. Now I'm using the Kerbal Engineer landing predictor for this, and I'm trying to land really close to this target. It's hard to see in the normal view, so I'm using the map view to help me see, and it kind of looks like the ground scatter. It's the same color of gray that I am looking for, and it's actually just there on the left of the screen, but it was hard for me to see just because it blended in so well. But we land perfectly. Believe it or not, this was not my first attempt. Matter of fact, it took me, 6 or 7 tries to land this correctly because I wanted to land close and softly. The suicide burn timer doesn't do a great job if you come in at an angle. If you're pretty vertical, it does a great job, but if you're pretty steep or a pretty shallow angle, actually, it's not correct. So I have to be careful. Now this is the target here right in front of us. What does it look like? It looks like another saucer. What is this? It's an unidentified crashed object, or maybe some kind of unidentified fantastic object, like a UFO. Well, we'll just plant our good Kerbal flag right here on this thing. Now, we saw one of these also on Kerbin. Who is flying saucers into the Kerbal system? Is there some other civilization that's been here before? Do they have anything apart with why the Kerbals are here? Be interesting to find out. I know there's some other really cool anomalies around the Kerbal system, and perhaps I will show you guys more of those. I know there's some on Duna, and actually there's some over in the Joule system as well. I probably will highlight a few more of those anomalies before I decide to end this series. Now we need to take off and go back to Kerbin. Be gentle on this takeoff, and I'm kind of heading on a 45-degree angle, work towards the South Pole, and just need to get into a basic orbit. Ideally, my orbit is kind of parallel to the Mun's direction of travel around Kerbin. It'll make it easy to eject the Mun retrograde to its orbit, and I will get an encounter in Kerbin's atmosphere, which is what I am doing right now. Because I took off in the correct direction, I'm going to have an easy time getting to Kerbin. I could have just waited as well if I was off on my inclination or off on how I was lined up. Now, if you see the other red line, that's trajectories giving a prediction. I was just trying to make sure we're going to capture. Trajectories seems to struggle a little bit. in this particular instance, but it's all right. We are going to, if we can turn sharply as we get into the lower atmosphere, I think we have a chance of landing back at the desert runway. And I know with the new update, there are all kinds of new runways. I have Kerbin side, and I have a lot of new runways on my game. I do look forward to having access to this stuff being in stock. So much of what I have in my game is a part of the now stock game in 1.12. So I'm really glad that that's all in there. I may only need half as many mods anymore. We are coming up a little short. I see the runway. We are not going to make it, but I think we'll be all right. It's pretty flat here. We'll land. I know I didn't land on the runway this time, but the plane design is solid. It works well. We'll grab a little bit of science here from the desert. Call that done. Look at that. Good haul of science today and some good funds. Can you tell me what you're thinking of the new update? It looks good to me. I'll probably update soon. If you are enjoying this series, can you leave a like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already? I've been just thrilled with the direction this game has gone. I've been happy with how my channel has grown, and all you guys have been so helpful and supportive to that. I'm not sure quite where I'm going to head next here. I'd probably like to visit Duna and Eve. Beyond that, I don't know. Thanks for being a part of this. I am Echo3, and I will see you next time.